Welcome to Thoughts Roundup. You know, I want to tell you a story today. I'd like to just tell you a good story if I could. I just settle back here and tell you a story. I flew from, I believe it was Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, to my home in Louisiana. And it only cost me, I believe it was 35 cents, 35 or 40 cents, to fly all the way from Pennsylvania to Alexandria, Louisiana. Now, I will grant you that inflation has not gone up that far. It really would have cost more than 35 cents. But have you ever heard of a military hop? I don't know if they even still do that or not, but whenever I was 17 years old, 18, if you got a furlough and you got a little time off, if there was a military plane going to where you was going, you could get what they call a hop. They'd let you get on the plane and ride on the plane to wherever that plane was going. Well, that morning I started out, I had a check, I believe it was for $70, which was a lot of money. And I had 35 cents. Well, I didn't, no way to get the check cashed, and I had a hop. And so I got on the plane. It was a large plane. I believe, if I remember right, it was going to Maxwell Field, Alabama, or something like that. Well, Alabama's south, and I thought, well, I live in the south. I didn't know what I was doing. I knew it wasn't home, but I thought, well, I'll just get closer to home. And I got on the plane and flew with them. I remember I was sitting straddled some machinery. It wasn't a military, it was not a luxury liner. And one man came back and said, "Are you hungry?" I said, "Yeah, I'm a little hungry." He said, "Well, I'm going to make some sandwiches. You would like one?" I said, "I sure would." So he brought me a sandwich and I ate a sandwich. Well, we got into Alabama, and I inquired about a plane, if they had something going to Alexandria, and they said, "No, we don't have anything going." Well, that had me stuck in Alabama. I had 35 cents or 40. So I went and bought me a Coke, a cold drink, and I believe it was a bar of candy. Well, I had used up almost all my change. You notice I said almost. I still had a little. And so they had the flight plan out where the planes were going. And I saw that one plane was going to be leaving and going over New Orleans and different places like that, maybe Baton Rouge or something. And I said I'm going to check with the captain and see if he'll drop me off in Alexandria. Well, I waited all night long, and they told me what time he would be coming to, he and his entourage would be coming to breakfast. So I stood there and waited, and after a while I saw the pilot and the main officer and several of them following him. And I saluted and said, "Sir, could I address you?" And he said, "Yes." I said, "Well, I noticed by the flight plan that you're going over Alexandria, Louisiana. Fly over there. I know you're not stopping, but I wonder if you could fly, if you could stop and let me off." And so he said, "Well, I'll tell you in about an hour if that's possible." So he came back after breakfast and all, and he said, "Young man, this is a flight to train officers, pilots, to do different things, to do things," basically what he was saying, in the spur of the moment. And it was to teach them how to read flight plans and all of that. And he said, "I think it would be a good exercise for the men, and so we have decided to change our flight plan and land in Alexandria." He had never heard of the air base. He didn't know there was an air base at Alexandria until he looked it up. And so I got on the plane. Woo! That plane had one of the widest wingspans I ever saw in my life. And I got on that plane, and man, you talking about thankful. And so we landed at the Alexandria Air Base, and I thanked them and got off of the plane, and I went out to the road that goes from Alexandria to our road, which was about 23 miles from Alexandria. I had a little money, you know. I had what was left out of 35 or 40 cents. Guy with money like that don't need to worry about nothing, especially if he's 17 or 18 years old. So I went out to the road and I stuck my thumb out. That's the way we used to do. We call hitchhiking or thumbing a ride. And I stuck my thumb out, and would you believe it, Matthew Marler, my cousin, picked me up, and he knew right where I lived, 23 miles before you turned off to go a mile back to our house near the swamp. And he brought me all the way back from Alexandria. Well, turned around at my front gate. It wasn't long until I said, "Mama, Mama, I'm home." I was so glad, and she was too. But you know, God must have been in all of that somewhere. I was living for the Lord. I lived for the Lord 4 years in the Navy. And I believe He watched over me. Well, I'm 87 now, and He still has to take care of me. I couldn't do anything if it wasn't for the Lord. And I travel a lot of miles every year, even every month. I preach in a lot of churches. Hope I do some good by the help of the Lord. But you know, the Lord, He'll never leave us and never forsake us. We got to walk in the light as He is in the light. And I'm not saying that I'm a good man. I know that I've been as wrong as anybody else, or some. But it does say that the steps of a good man are ordered of the Lord. And I try to be good, and I've always tried to be good. And I thank the Lord for His glory and His presence. Well, you can go a long ways on 35 or 40 cents if God is in it. Thank you for listening. I just wanted to tell you that simple little story. God bless.